The MCAT CARS podcast, session number 20. The CARS section of the MCAT gives thousands of pre-meds nightmares every night. Whether you're an ESL student, lack confidence while reading, or a slow reader like me, Jack Weston and the medical school headquarters are here to help you score higher in every section so you can be confident you're ready to get the MCAT score of your dreams. Welcome to the MCAT CARS podcast. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, your host here every week. And as always, I'm joined by Jack Weston, the premier MCAT CARS tutor online. You know, it's funny. I have the pre-med hangout group, which if you're not part of, you should be. You can find that at medicalschoolhq.net/group. And in that group, we were having a discussion. Somebody was asking about Jack Weston and the course that Jack Weston offers. Now, it is an investment. It is $1,450 as I'm recording this right now. And you can break that down into 10 weekly installments, which helps and makes it affordable for a lot of students. But somebody was asking if that investment was worthwhile. And somebody who posts frequently in the group said, I had a friend who spent $15,000. I think they said $15,000 on MCAT prep. And the Jack Weston course was the only thing that he said was worthwhile. So take that for what it's worth. If you are interested in learning more about the course, the MCAT CARS course that Jack Weston offers, go to medicalschoolhq.net/Jack Weston. Going to that link will automatically activate a $100 off coupon for you. The next course is coming up as we're releasing this on March 6th. The next course is coming out in a couple weeks at the end of March 2018. Again, you can check out all of the dates and everything else that Jack Weston has to offer. medicalschoolhq.net/Jack Weston. Jack Weston back for some more MCAT CARS podcasts. I feel like after last week, I was so confused the whole time, and I would just pray that on an MCAT passage, if that was like that. And if you haven't listened to that one, go back and listen and read along with that one, because that was a tough one. I would pray that on the real MCAT, I wouldn't see anything like that, and I could actually follow along at least a little bit more.
Yeah, I actually like harder ones because the harder the read, the easier the questions. The MCAT's human, they're humans that make this test. So they realize that, hey, look, this is a hard read. Let's make the questions a little easier. And typically, I don't like the easier reads because they'll test you on all the little details that, you probably overlook. So it's a balance, sometimes they'll give you hard ones, sometimes they'll give you easy ones, but be prepared for anything. Be prepared for all easy or all hard reads. And really easy and hard depends on the student. You may find something hard that I might find easy, or you may find something easy I find hard. Yeah, it depends on the student. So it's your job really to focus on the things you're weak on. If it's economy passage, focus on those economy passages. If it's government passages, focus on that, right? So that's really all you have to do here to see improvement.
Okay. All right. Anything special we need to know about our passage this week from Gizmodo?
This is going to be easier than the one we read last week. That's for sure.
All right.
I think it's interesting. It's relevant to people, so it's going to be a lot easier to read. And it takes a new direction on a topic that many people are concerned about.
Okay. Here's what's going to happen. Every year for the foreseeable future, scientists, activists, and citizens concerned about climate change will have a discussion in one form or another about geoengineering. All right, so we're going to be talking about climate change, and the author is saying, look, for a long time in the foreseeable future, we're going to be talking about geoengineering, whatever that may mean at this point.
Right, and we don't know, so you can't, unfortunately, you can't pause the test and get out your phone and Google geoengineering.
Yeah.
But we don't have to. We're fine. We already know we're talking about climate change and the discussion of geoengineering.
Yep.
Okay?
There will be editorials and vague proposals in journals. There will be think pieces on the need not to do it, but to talk about it. So I think the author is just saying, look, in the previous sentence, he's saying we're going to have a lot of discussions, and then he's pointing out what those discussions may look like. Editorials and proposals and think pieces.
That's it.
These will increase in volume and urgency as our situation becomes ever clearer, perhaps starting right now with the release of the latest and most dire Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC report. So the author, it looks like, is writing this article potentially after this report came out that doesn't look good. Dire, to me, sounds bad. So,
yeah. So it seems like we might be starting to think about geoengineering more and more as things get dire, right? So maybe climate change getting worse. Maybe geoengineering becomes more of a factor. We don't really know. They haven't described it really well. But yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Next paragraph. But then one day you will look up and the planes will be in the sky. So I think potentially here the author is maybe showing us what geoengineering may look like.
Yeah, planes in the sky. What the heck?
Yeah, we have that now. So I'm like, well, what does that mean? Okay. They will be dumping tiny aerosol particles designed to deflect bits of sunlight back into space. Aha. All right. So the planes aren't just normal planes flying around. They're dumping these particles into the air to reflect or deflect sunlight back into space. And so for me, as I'm reading this, I would go, to reduce heat on Earth, because if we have less sunlight, we have less heat.
Yeah, I mean, that's what most people will start thinking. And, most people know about climate change, right? Like the whole idea of the world is warming, right? Our glaciers are melting. You don't need to know any of that right now, right? I mean, it's going to help build context. It's going to help you understand this better. But as long as you know geoengineering is reducing sunlight, and that somehow counteracts this dire situation we're in, that's it. And as long as you know geoengineering includes planes, using planes for that to happen. Okay.
Maybe this will happen when 10 million people have to vacate coastal Bangladesh and start pouring into India. So the author is painting a picture of potentially what this tipping point would be. Kind of a mass migration of people.
Yeah, it's dire situation. Again, you might know more about this and realize, look, these are places that have, below sea level, like land, and maybe all of a sudden it'll flood because the Earth will melt, right? But again, we don't really know. You don't have to know that. It's not something that is necessary. As long as you know that what these planes are doing, you'll be fine.
Okay. Maybe when the last resident of Kiribati finally gives up hope and moves to Fiji. So just another example.
I'm down to move to Fiji.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with that. Welcome climate change. Just kidding. Next paragraph. But it will happen, and buried in chapter 4 of the new IPCC report is the reason why. It's cheap, and it'll probably work. And so I would have to do some thinking here to say it will happen. Because I think the easy thing is to go, it meaning the migration of people from Bangladesh to India, but I think he's saying planes in the sky dropping particles.
Yeah, so it's cheap and it'll probably work. What will work? What is cheap? Well, the whole thing is about geoengineering.
Yeah.
So probably that. I mean, the point the author was trying to make with people moving is maybe that's when we realize how important it is to actually do this, right? You have to remember that. Because they said in the third sentence of that previous paragraph, maybe this will happen. What will happen, right? Well, this idea of geoengineering.
Okay. Next paragraph. We have been having the same conversation about geoengineering for at least a decade. So the author is just saying, hey, this is not a new discussion. We've been talking about this.
Yep.
It was, quote, a bad idea whose time has come, end quote, in 2010. A bad idea whose time has come. I'm not quite sure. I guess geoengineering is a bad idea?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the only thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
And we're discussing the discussion of geoengineering, and it's quoted. So this is probably someone else's point of view, right? Okay.
Scientists were, quote, nervous about it in 2015. So now I'm thinking, scientists were nervous about geoengineering. So I wonder how I would read into that is there some consequences to geoengineering that maybe the author hasn't talked about yet?
Okay.
They called it, quote, terrifying in 2014. So just more of the same. And those are just from the first few pages of a Google News search. So the author's saying, hey, in 2010, everybody considered it a bad idea, but whose time has come, so maybe we need to start talking about it. And then again, 2014 and 2015, scientists were still not very happy about it.
Yeah, so it's been a concern. They've been thinking about it. So it seems like it's a bad thing, but maybe it's not. Who knows?
Okay. Next paragraph. We have this same conversation about intentional, large-scale tinkering with the climate to counteract our ongoing, less intentional tinkering with the climate because climate change is scary and it is dangerous. And because we are paralyzed, our ongoing... Okay, so the author is just saying we continue to have these conversations, and he states why. Climate change is scary, it's dangerous, and we have these discussions about tinkering with it.
Yeah, the author's trying to paint a picture of how people are very worried, right? But do you think the author thinks we should be worried?
I don't think so.
Yeah, because the author's using these quotes, nervous, terrifying, to kind of explain that maybe it's really not nervous, maybe it's really not terrifying.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of an exaggerated concern. At least that's the way the author is trying to paint the picture.
But the dark, not really a secret of solar radiation management, as the primary idea is known, is that it is absurdly cheap. So it looks like the author is saying, he mentioned it earlier that it's cheap, and he's mentioning it here again. Look, this is cheap and it works.
Okay, good. Yeah, you noticed that. So that's something the author is trying to say. Look, maybe it's scary, but hey, it works. So don't freak out.
Yeah.
At least that's the way the author is trying to say it.
Next paragraph. Maybe a few $1 billion per year could retrofit some planes and send them into the stratosphere, where they would endlessly dump out sulfate aerosols until the planet starts to cool. So the author is basically just saying what they would do, how they would do it, retrofitting some planes and flying around and dumping sulfate out. Right.
So this is something that even if you don't know anything about climate change, you'll know warm is bad, cool is good.
Yep.
Right? Cooling is the solution and warming is the problem. They don't mention that anywhere, but they're educating you that by reading. Okay.
And by most scientists' estimates, it would cool the planet. So again, he's reiterating, it will work. Those simple facts are the driving force that will turn our never-ending conversation cycle of scary but necessary, but dangerous but crucial into planes in the sky. And so the author's saying, look, the simple facts of it's cheap and it'll work are going to drive us into actually doing it.
Right. So do you think the author likes geoengineering, or
he likes at least this part of geoengineering, the planes in the sky?
Well, the cheap part, right?
Yeah.
As well, right?
Cheap and it works.
Cheap and it works. Yeah. So maybe we should. I mean, the author doesn't say, "Oh, don't freak out," but that's kind of what's implied. Like, don't be so alarmed. It's not that terrifying, and that's the vibe that we should know as you answer questions. Great. So let's see. Why do I like this passage? Well, first of all, it's talking about something that most people are worried about in a different context than when we're accustomed to. Most people think of Al Gore and how climate change is bad and how like there's problems with it. There probably are. It's probably a bad thing for the world and it's probably happening. But here is someone who's saying, don't freak out. It's okay. We have this solution. And I don't think anyone has heard about this, right? Geoengineering through planes in the sky. I mean, I thought that's pretty cool, and it's something that most people would not agree with or would think about, at least.
All right, so there you have it. Some more great MCAT CARS podcasts for you, breaking down another article, some more passages, some more paragraphs, breaking down those sentences, trying to help you figure out how to best break down your MCAT CARS passages, and not just the CARS passages, every single passage, every single question on the MCAT. That's what we are here to do. If you want more information and more one-on-one help from Jack Weston with the MCAT CARS course, Go to medicalschoolhq.net/Jack Wesson, all one word, and have that $100 off coupon activated. You use that coupon, you save some money. I get a little beer money. That is an affiliate link. Thank you for supporting me and everything we're doing here at MedEd Media and checking out Jack Wesson and helping you on your MCAT journey. Have a great week. We'll see you next time here on the MCAT CARS podcast.